Hello and welcome back to my studio. I'm Devi Daly. We're going to do a Yin Yoga practice for the lower body, focusing on the legs and the hips, getting into the quads, the glutes, the hamstrings, the hip flexors. And we'll also be tuning into this grounding energy that we can feel when we work with the lower body, when we stimulate the energies of the sacrum, the pelvis, the first and second chakras. We will hold the postures for 2 to 3 minutes at a time, and you will want to have a cushion available for this practice because that's one of the ways that we can get a little more deeply into the legs, since we're focusing more on the lower body than the torso and spine today. Even if you don't normally use a cushion, you might want to experiment with that today, and I'll talk a little bit more about why that is as we go along. So let's go ahead and get started with a cushion under the seat in butterfly pose. So sitting with the soles of the feet together. If you normally use a cushion, you could consider a larger cushion than usual. And the soles of the feet will come together. As we come forward, you can hold on around the toes or have the hands out in front of you. And we want to feel this pose in the inner thighs, the inner groin. So if you don't feel that very much, one of the things you can do is bring the legs closer in, and that will often do the trick, or lift up under your seat more to get more of this anterior tilt of the pelvis that helps the pose get into the legs more. And soften forward, relax your head, relax your spine. And if it helps you, you could begin to breathe softly and smoothly into the area where you're feeling sensation. Or if you're feeling any particular areas of tension in your body, see if you can bring awareness to that and soften it. Letting this be a gentle entry into this practice, a first posture, saying hello to the body. And slowly releasing butterfly. Draw the legs together and come onto your back to rest for 1 minute. Taking this 1 minute period to be relatively still, relax in a comfortable position on your back, and just feel what's happening after releasing that pose. Noticing any particular sensations in the inner thighs. And noticing if it changes, if it moves. Noticing if you feel different parts of your body right now as well. And now bending the knees, hug them into your chest. And wrap your arms around your legs and very gently just rock side to side a couple times. And roll over to one side. Make your way up to seated. And we're going to do a somewhat epic sequence on one side and then the other. So we'll begin in half butterfly pose with the right leg forward and the left leg bent. And once again, getting the cushion under your seat is going to make this more of a leg sensation. And the reason for that is as we lift up through the pelvis, we get an actual tilt of the pelvis, say anterior tilt, and this makes the spine straighter, which means you get less stretch in your spine. And if you're a more experienced Yin practitioner, you may know that we don't really go for a straight spine in Yin. We often allow and even encourage a rounded spine. But if I were to do the pose with less lift under my seat, I'd feel it more in my spine. And what I want today is actually to feel it more in the legs. And so getting that anterior tilt of the pelvis and a little more liftedness in the chest can bring more stretch into the hamstrings because we're tilting the pelvis in a way that brings the sitting bone back on the right side. And once you've got that angle, you can see where your torso wants to angle as far as right and left. Does it want to go more to the inside of the leg, which for a lot of people will be a stronger hamstring sensation? Or do I want to go more over the leg, which might be less? So softening into your version for today. And once you figure out your angles, you can go ahead and soften the head. We don't need to have a lot of effort happening here to keep a straight spine. Mostly just allowing this more forward tilt of the pelvis with your lift under your seat. And start to soften into the breath. Start to soften into the awareness of what you're feeling. The action of forward bends is often said to be relaxing to the mind. This kind of the bowing motion, bowing toward the earth. And slowly rising up. And now shifting into half saddle pose. So we're just going to take this left leg and kind of flip it around. Left foot next to the hip. You might stay up on your cushion for this and lean back on your hands or come farther down onto your elbows. And at a certain point, having the cushion under your seat will make this pose more intense of a back bend. And so you can choose if you want to use it or not. And I'm going to take mine out. So I'm lying down on my back, which might feel good for you, or it might be too much on your knee and legs. So please feel free to take the time in this pose in this more upright position or down on your elbows. And remember that you can also choose to do different tilts of the pelvis, like tilting the left hip up and away, maybe even just being down on your your right elbow. If you are coming down onto the back, then maybe your knee pops up a little like mine is doing today, or maybe it's down on the ground. Either way is fine. The idea in all these variations is the quadriceps stretching into the quads, left side, and up into the hip flexors here as well. Some additional options with your other leg, your right leg, is to bend the knee and maybe have the foot flat on the ground. Maybe flop the knee out to the side or hug the knee in toward your chest. All these are just different ways to manipulate the pelvis to find different ways into the stretch. Softening into whatever shape your body is resting into. Bringing awareness to your breath and to the sensations that you're feeling in your body. Your arms could be down alongside of you if you're on your back, or rest on your belly, or come up over your head. And releasing slowly, coming up and slowly making your way forward into sleeping swan with the right leg in front. So the squared hip version is the popular version in Yang and Hatha Yoga, but in Yin we can experiment with different angles, such as letting the right hip come down, possibly even bending the back knee, and then coming down maybe directly over the leg, or maybe angling the torso in various ways. And the target area here is the buttock on the right side, the glutes on the right side. So you can play around with tilting your hips even the opposite way, angling your torso one way or the other. And maybe you'll rest on your elbows, maybe you'll rest your forehead on your hands, or have the arms extended and the forehead on the ground. Continue to adjust if you need to figure out how to get the stretch in the glutes without knee pain. There's all these different options. Again, if you're bending the back knee, that's sometimes called the deer pose. Continuing to soften and breathe. And slowly come up. Take a moment to find a little back bend here. Feeling, again, maybe some sensation in the quads and the hip flexors on your other leg, your left leg. And now let's sit over onto the right hip. Bring the back leg around to the front and rest on the back after those 3 leg poses on one side. We'll take a 1-minute rebound to feel what's going on inside this body. Feel the sensations of energy flowing in the hamstrings, the quads, the glutes. Noticing maybe some feelings of asymmetry since we only did one side. Hamstrings and quads on the right leg and glutes on the... Oh wait, we did hamstrings and glutes on the right leg and we did quads on the left leg. Softening. And bend your knees now. Hug them in. Lift your head up towards your knees. Squeeze into a ball. And release. Roll to one side. Come back up to sit for half butterfly on the second side. Once again, cushion under the seat to get more of that leg sensation. And as you come forward, maybe you're liking the angle, going directly over the leg, or maybe angling somewhere inside the leg. And feel free to take your time playing around with the angle, seeing what angle gives you the best stretch in the hamstrings. And there are multiple hamstrings in each leg. We have 3 hamstring muscles back here, one in the middle, one on the outside, one on the inside. And you might notice some different sensations as you choose different angles. One of the things that students sometimes ask me when I talk about these target areas is, why are we talking about the muscles? Why are we talking about hamstrings when the practice of yin is supposed to target fascia and not muscles? And that's a really good question. And it's kind of more, we're not targeting fascia directly, we're targeting myofascial groups because all of the muscles in the body are interwoven with fascia. They are encased in fascia, and the fascia tends to run in these groups. So the hamstrings is kind of like one big myofascial group, and then it sort of extends into an even larger myofascial group of the whole back body. So we feel the sensation in the hamstrings, but we also feel it beyond the hamstrings, farther up the back of the hips perhaps, maybe into the back of the pelvis, maybe down into the calf. But the sort of center, you could say, the focal point of this myofascial group is the sensation that we feel in the hamstring area. Breathing as you sense into this region. And slowly rising up. And once the torso comes upright, shifting into that half saddle with the right foot turning to come to the outside of the right hip, and then making your way onto your back, or if you're not going that far, then staying here, leaning up on the hands or resting down on the elbows. And again, to navigate any knee pain or just feelings your body is not benefiting from this, you can experiment with side angles. And I didn't say it on the other side, but you could hold the foot, or you could have a strap or a belt that wraps around the foot if holding the foot is not accessible. Possibly finding something different to do with the left leg if you want to bend it, open the knee out, or hug it in. Hands on the belly, or to the sides at some angle, or over the head. So we are targeting, once again, the quadriceps and the hip flexors on the right side. Right leg. And the quadriceps, again, are a muscle group, but we are saying quadriceps to really feel into the whole myofascial region, the mixture of fascia and muscle in this area that can be anywhere between your right knee and the bottom of your right ribs. And here's a little trick to feel it more in the quads is, again, that tilt of the pelvis. So the same thing the pillow does for us in a forward bend, we'll do the opposite here by extending the lower back. Use your hands to draw the flesh of your buttocks down. This makes it less back bendy and more leg stretch, more hip flexors, more quads. And slowly release, coming up, making your way into sleeping swan, left leg forward, right leg back. And as you come forward, remember your options here to lean all the way over on the left hip and bend the back leg, or to be more square. Targeting the glutes on the left side. Maybe being more centered with your torso, maybe angling right or left. And yet another option I didn't mention on the first side is to have this left knee right in the middle or farther out to the side or anywhere in between. All different ways to feel into your body. I like to give you these options because we all have different anatomy. We all have different ways that our bones are shaped and the ways that our bones fit together. And one of the beautiful things about the Yin practice is how it really teaches us to know our own body and to hone the skill of being aware of our own feelings and intuitions and needs, rather than just having a teacher tell us exactly what to do. And once you get there, wherever you are, take a deep breath. And relax into your exhale. And slowly release. And once again, just taking a moment to feel into a back bend from this position. To stretch the front of the right thigh and hip a little. And now we'll come into a resting position on the back. So lean over onto the left hip, bring the back leg around to the front, and settle yourself back. Any comfortable position on your back. And now that we've evened ourselves out and done the same things on two sides, notice how this feels. Notice what's happening inside your body. And now bend the knees, hug them in. Gently rock side to side. Or circle the knees, just whatever feels good, whatever feels gentle and soothing to your body right now. Giving a little bit of love to the lower body and all this sensation that's going on. Legs, thighs, hips. Taking happy baby pose now. Hold the bottoms of the feet, outsides or insides of the feet, whatever you like. And letting go of the legs and rolling to one side, coming into dragonfly pose with the cushion under the seat. So wide legs in dragonfly, you might be super duper wide or you might be more narrow wide, and your hips will tell you what the right thing to do is. Maybe your knees will tell you. For some people, going too wide gives knee pain, so just bring it in if that's the case. Or you can experiment with having rolled towels, one rolled towel under each knee. That can make the pose a lot more comfortable for some people. And since we've got some good substantial lift under our seat, we're going to have more anterior pelvic tilt as we come forward, which might mean a straighter spine than we normally go for in a yin practice, but we're emphasizing the legs. We're getting a hamstring and especially a groin stretch here. For some people, having the toes be more forward is a better way to get into the groins. For others, the feet angle more backward, and this can have a lot to do with just the natural orientation of your bones in your legs. So there's not a right or wrong way to angle the toes and the feet here, but you can experiment with it. And you might be on your hands with straighter arms. You might be down on your elbows. You could rest your elbows on top of blocks or a bolster, or have some kind of pile of cushioning under your forehead or your chest. And once you get into something that feels pretty good, see if you can soften your body there a little more. I do have a good number of students who really just don't like this pose. And if that's you, if you feel like you can't wait to get out of it and it's just not effective for you, then you could consider doing this at the wall. You just lie on the back with legs up the wall and open the legs wide. Or you could take the happy baby pose on the back and hold that for a long yin hold as an alternative. And now slowly coming up and slowly transitioning into a final relaxation position on your back. Make yourself totally comfortable. Use a cushion under the knees if you'd like, or something under the head, or cover yourself with a blanket or an eye pillow, extra clothes to stay warm, whatever you need to be cozy, to feel supported here as we feel what's happening in the lower body. Feel these sensations of awakening here, of being grounded in this lower half of the body. Take a moment to really feel into your feet. These surfaces that connect you to the earth whenever you stand, whenever you walk. And honoring the feet, taking a breath down into the feet. And now feeling into your calves and your shins all the way around your lower legs. Honoring the lower legs with a breath, inhaling here. And exhaling from the lower legs. And now feeling into the knees. Honoring the knees for all that they do for you. The backs of the knees, fronts of the knees, insides and outsides of the knees. Even if they get cranky sometimes, if your knees aren't always the happiest parts of your body, there's still so much that they do for you and have done for you. So thanking these knees, taking a breath into them. And a breath out. And now the thighs and the hips, insides of the thighs, backs of the thighs, outsides of the thighs, the glutes, up into the sacrum, back of the pelvis, front of the pelvis, the hips, hip flexors, psoas, fronts of the thighs. Taking a big breath into the bowl of the pelvis and the thighs, these powerful centers of the body. And 2 more big breaths into this region. Maybe an open mouth exhale. Last one. Energizing the lower body, the first chakra, the second chakra, base of the pelvis, back of the pelvis. And now inhaling once again into the pelvic bowl this time. And as you exhale, engaging the pelvis, so pulling up the base of the pelvis, Mula Bandha, and also kind of squeezing the sacrum, squeeze the back of your pelvis like you're trying to constrict or contract your pelvis. And keep exhaling, squeezing everything out. And releasing. Relax the pelvis now, relaxing the thighs. And just letting the energy flow. Completely softening. And now take a deeper breath into your belly, into your back, into your heart. And as you exhale, wiggle your fingers and toes and begin to stretch out into your arms and your legs. And bend your knees and slowly roll over onto one side to slowly lift up into a seated position. Use your cushion under your seat if you'd like. With your spine tall, take 3 breaths in and out. And that's our practice today. Make a gentle transition into the rest of your day, and thank you for practicing with me. I will see you next time. Namaste.